Hello, everyone. I'm Anna, and I'm 29 years old. Today, I'm here to share a rather personal story about how I ended up having my unfaithful husband, Gary, arrested. Before we get into the details of this saga, let me set the scene for you. Historically, my previous partners have branded me as someone who overreacts due to my so-called antics. However, they conveniently omitted the part about their own actions that drove me to the edge. It seemed as though they expected me to passively accept their deceit. Whenever I discovered their cheating, my gut reaction was to retaliate in inventive ways. My tactics ranged from publicly shaming them, revealing their secrets to their loved ones, and yes, even some petty acts of revenge like slashing tires and other less than admirable deeds. Despite these actions, the deep-seated pain and fury within me never truly subsided. It felt akin to dousing a fire with gasoline. Yet, I persisted with my methods, and unsurprisingly found myself repeatedly betrayed by men, one after the other. Just when I thought I'd forever be entangled in this cycle of mistrust, along came Gary, my supposed knight in shining armor. Gary was a refreshing change. He was patient and understanding, and never dismissed my feelings as irrational. We connected instantly, and within no time we were deeply in love and spent 3 wonderful years together. These years were filled with love, laughter, and mutual support, and I truly believed I had found someone who would end the perpetual cycle of betrayal. We got married in a beautiful ceremony, celebrated with all our friends and family. It seemed like I had finally moved past my history of infidelity. However, life had another twist in store for us. Shortly after our marriage, Gary's father, Samuel, passed away. During this time of grief, we stumbled upon a startling secret. Samuel had been involved in a long-term affair with a woman named Lisa. This revelation felt like a bitter echo of the past, stirring up old feelings of betrayal. The impact was profound, especially on my mother-in-law, Melissa, who was devastated by the discovery. As I discovered yet another betrayal, a familiar sinking feeling welled up inside me. It was as if the universe was determined to surround me with unfaithfulness. After uncovering the truth about Samuel's affair, I felt an overwhelming need to support my mother-in-law, Melissa. Given my past experiences, it almost seemed my duty to offer her comfort during this tough time. I sat down with Melissa and tried to provide some solace. "Melissa, I know this is incredibly tough, but believe me, we'll get through this together," I reassured her. Looking at me with tears in her eyes, Melissa asked, "Anna, how did you manage to deal with all those cheaters in your past? I've never felt heartbreak like this." I took her hand gently and responded, "It wasn't easy, and it took a lot of time to heal. But remember, their actions don't define us. We are strong, and we will emerge from this even stronger." "I get that, but I just want to break something," she confessed. "I understand," I said. "If it helps, you can break his things, maybe burn his clothes or anything that makes you feel better. I never thought destruction would make me feel better, but just thinking about it is kind of exciting," Melissa admitted with a hesitant smile. "Oh, honey, just wait till I tell you about smashing golf clubs. Those do pack a punch," I joked, trying to lighten the mood. We spent hours pouring our hearts out, sharing heartbreak, anger, and resilient stories. Through those conversations, I realized that Melissa and I shared many similarities. We were both feisty and harbored an indomitable spirit that no betrayal could extinguish. Our bond strengthened as we rode this emotional roller coaster together. All right, everyone, buckle up, because just when it seemed like life was getting back on track, chaos struck again. It was an ordinary day. I was doing laundry, minding my own business, when I spotted it, a shocking lipstick stain on Gary's collar. For a moment, my heart literally stopped beating. Deep down, I felt the harsh sting of betrayal, My past experiences had all too well prepared me for this. The anger that surged through me was more intense than anything I had ever felt. I marched into the living room, clutching the stained shirt like a war flag, ready to confront Gary. He looked up at me, bewildered, and asked, "What's going on, babe?" Trying to contain my fury was futile. "Don't play dumb, Gary," I yelled. "I found this lipstick stain on your collar. Are you cheating on me?" He appeared genuinely shocked and denied everything, claiming it was a mistake, but my instincts screamed otherwise. The betrayal was suffocating. I couldn't fathom how Gary, who had seemed so loving and kind, could deceive me so cruelly. Unable to hold back my anger, I demanded he leave our home. After a heated exchange, he did. Once alone, my frustration exploded into a rampage of breaking things around me. In a fit of distress, I called Melissa and laid bare the truth about Gary's supposed indiscretion, lamenting how the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Hearing this, Melissa was shattered. She had endured her share of pain and betrayal, and now her son was mirroring his father's mistakes. Her voice cracked with anger and disappointment as she expressed her heartbreak. "Anna, I can't believe Gary would do this, especially after everything we've been through." The rest of that night, and many days that followed, were spent in tears. I ignored Gary's incessant phone calls and started planning to leave him for good. However, I first needed to allow myself to fully feel the depth of my sadness. So, there I was, upset, seeking solace in tub after tub of gelato, unable to comprehend how Gary, the one I believed was different, could betray me so deeply. I refused to answer his persistent calls, needing time to process my emotions and decide my next steps. Then, one day, Melissa called again. It felt ironic to find comfort in the words of the mother of the man who had shattered my heart, but I welcomed her support regardless. Her voice was filled with concern and care as she told me about Gary's remorse and his desire to return home. I felt an urge to dismiss Melissa's words, to tell her that Gary didn't deserve my forgiveness, but she implored me, her voice saturated with maternal love and understanding. "Melissa, I don't know if I can do it. He promised he'd never hurt me, and yet, here we are again." Melissa's tone softened as she responded with a wisdom born of experience. "Anna, my dear, life is too short to cling to anger and resentment. If Samuel were still here, I'd give anything for a chance to repair our relationship, to start over. Forgiveness is a precious gift, and you have the power to repair what's broken. Don't let that opportunity slip away." Her words struck a chord with me. Despite the deep pain I was feeling, I couldn't ignore the fact that life was full of uncertainties. Tomorrow was not guaranteed, and I didn't want to waste my days engulfed in bitterness. Melissa's heartfelt plea reminded me that love and forgiveness could heal even the most profound wounds. With a heavy sigh, I responded, my voice tinged with vulnerability. "Okay, Melissa, tell Gary he can come home. We have a lot to discuss, and I hope he's prepared to face the consequences of his actions." Melissa sounded relieved and grateful that I was willing to give Gary another chance. "Thank you, Anna. You're a strong woman, and I have faith in both of you. Love can overcome the toughest challenges if you're both committed to working through them." After hanging up, I wiped my tears and took a deep breath. It was time to confront Gary, to engage in a truthful dialogue to determine if our love could survive this ordeal. Forgiving him didn't mean forgetting or condoning his actions, but it did mean offering us both a chance to heal and rebuild trust. When Gary returned, we sat down for a serious talk. I looked into his eyes, searching for any trace of sincerity and remorse. He confessed, admitting it was a one-time lapse and expressing deep regret. He vowed it would never happen again. I was torn, unsure whether to believe him. The trust we once shared had been shattered, and I knew that mending it would be no small feat. Yet, amidst the hurt and betrayal, I couldn't help but remember the love Gary and I had shared and the happy moments we experienced together. Deep down, I still cared for him and was earnestly seeking a way to move forward. With a heavy heart, I decided to give our relationship another chance. We both understood that it wouldn't be smooth sailing. Rebuilding trust is a process that requires time and effort. Nonetheless, we were prepared to do the necessary work. As weeks turned into months, it seemed like things were improving between us. But despite the apparent progress, I couldn't shake off my doubts. I knew I couldn't just blindly trust him again. That's when I decided to take matters into my own hands. Without Gary's knowledge, I installed security cameras around the house. It might sound underhanded, but I felt it was essential to protect myself and verify that I wasn't being deceived again. One day, while at work, the thought struck me to check the security footage. This had become a routine, a way to ease my concerns and keep a vigilant eye. What I saw next crushed any lingering hope I had. The footage revealed Gary with another woman, but what was even more distressing was how familiar she seemed with our home. She moved around with ease as if she'd been there many times before. The scene was heart-wrenching. They were engaging in intimate gestures that were supposed to be exclusive to us. The betrayal cut deeply, stirring a tumultuous mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. At that moment, I felt an overwhelming urge to lash out, to cause destruction as a form of revenge. Yet, I knew that giving in to that darkness wasn't the answer. I needed to remain composed and find a different way to confront Gary about his deceit. I had to address this directly with him and see his reaction when faced with undeniable evidence. This wasn't just about getting even anymore. It was about taking the right steps to handle the situation with the dignity and strength I needed to move forward. Overwhelmed and unsure of how to proceed without causing a scene at work, I reached out to the one person who had become my confidant through this ordeal. I called Melissa. Pouring my heart out to her, the words tumbled out, heavy with the ache of betrayal. As I spoke, I could hear the shock and devastation in her voice, mirroring the emotional turmoil I felt. Melissa's response came through trembling words. "Oh my God, Anna, I don't even know what to say. My heart is breaking for you." It was clear she felt deeply for my situation, understanding the pain I was enduring. "I don't know, Melissa," I confessed, the hurt evident in my voice. "It's like my heart has been torn open all over again. I wish I had taken my chance to leave him when I first suspected, instead of now being left utterly broken." She continued, her voice shaking with anger and disbelief. "I can't believe Gary would do this to you again, after all the efforts to rebuild what was once broken. It's like reopening old wounds and the pain is just unbearable. Anna, I'm so sorry. This is devastating. You didn't deserve any of this. It's inexcusable." "It feels like a nightmare I can't wake up from," I replied. "I trusted him, and he shattered that trust all over again." With heartfelt sorrow, Melissa apologized repeatedly. She expressed regret for everything I had been through and for the pain Gary had inflicted once more. She even voiced regret for ever suggesting I take the high road, concluding that she could no longer trust men, not even her son. The depth of her anger resonated with me, and it was comforting to know I wasn't facing this alone. "Thank you, Melissa. Your support means everything to me. I don't know how I would get through this without you," I told her, feeling a small solace in her understanding. As our conversation unfolded, I shared with Melissa my thoughts and desires for justice. "I want to teach Gary a lesson to make him understand the consequences of his actions," I confided. "We can't let him continue to hurt you without any repercussions," she agreed. "Together, we will make sure he faces the consequences." The resolve in Melissa's voice bolstered my determination. With her support, I felt a renewed strength to confront the situation head-on. I was at my wits' end, unable to endure Gary's infidelity any longer. In a moment of frustration, I half-joked to Melissa, "I might just end up doing something drastic to your son if this continues." "Anna, trust me on this one, don't do anything rash," Melissa urgently responded. Her tone was calm, yet firm. "How can you say that? I need to see justice done," I exclaimed, desperate for some form of resolution. "Don't worry, dear, just trust me," she reassured me, and then she outlined her plan. After hearing her out, I was taken aback by her ingenuity. Melissa had devised a bold strategy for retribution. It was daring, and if successful, it promised to bring the closure I desperately sought. Feeling a tumultuous mix of anger, sadness, and determination, I hung up the phone, propelled by a new resolve. I couldn't let Gary simply get away with his deceit. It was time to act, to ensure he faced the consequences of his actions. Leaving work early, I allowed Melissa's plan to unfold. I parked my car near a park close to our home, positioning myself to have a clear view of the drama that was about to unfold. After a tense wait, the air was split by the sound of police sirens, an almost cathartic melody to my ears. I watched intently as police officers stormed our house. They broke down the front door and soon after emerged dragging Gary and his mistress into the daylight. The pair were handcuffed and led to separate police cars as bystanders whispered and murmured, creating a spectacle that neither Gary nor his companion could escape. From my car, I watched the scene unfold. A complicated cocktail of emotions churned within me. Part of me felt vindicated, a grim satisfaction in seeing justice being served. Yet another part of me felt a profound sadness for the end of what had once been a promising relationship. The shouts and denials from Gary and his mistress filled the air as they were driven away, and soon the street quieted, returning to normal. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of my car and approached the now breached doorway of our home. The destruction was a stark reminder of the broken trust and the deceit that had played out behind those walls. As I walked through the aftermath, the disappointment was palpable, a heavy reminder of the fallout from betrayal. I had once wholeheartedly believed in Gary, in our marriage, and in the promise of a future we'd build together. However, his repeated betrayals shattered those dreams, leaving me to question everything I thought I knew about him. The pain and disillusionment weighed heavily on my heart, yet beneath it all, I knew I deserved more than a partner who couldn't remain faithful. In the heat of emotional turmoil, Melissa and I devised a plan that was as drastic as it was risky: to falsely accuse Gary and his mistress of possessing illegal firearms and drugs. It was a perilous path, and deep down, I knew that if we were caught, the consequences would be severe. Nevertheless, driven by a desire for revenge, I allowed my judgment to be clouded, and we proceeded with the plan. As time passed, I found myself imagining the fear and confusion that must have gripped Gary and his mistress as they faced intense police interrogations. Melissa and I had crafted a scenario designed to make them squirm, though completely fabricated. Despite knowing it was wrong, I couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of satisfaction at the thought of them getting a taste of their own medicine. Caught up in the unfolding drama, I left work early, eager to see the scene I had envisioned in my mind. I imagined their shock and disbelief as they faced the severe accusations, the gravity of the situation dawning on them. It was a cruel plan, and I couldn't deny the thrill it brought me. True to Melissa's predictions, Gary used his one phone call to reach out to me. "Hello, Anna. Thank God you picked up. I don't know what's happening, but I've been arrested," he said, panic lacing his voice. "Oh my goodness, what did you do?" I feigned ignorance. "I didn't do anything. I was just at home," he replied, sounding desperate. "At home? Why weren't you at work?" I pressed, curious about his explanation. It doesn't matter right now, just come get me. Please explain to them that we don't have any firearms or any drugs, he pleaded. Firearms? Drugs? What have you done, Gary? I continued to play along. I didn't do anything, I was just with Matthew, he blurted out, revealing more than he intended. Matthew? Who's that? I asked sharply. I was cheating, okay? I'm so sorry, Anna. I was with Matthew and then suddenly the police came and everything else was a blur. Please come get me. I'm so sorry for breaking your trust, I promise you. This was the last time, he confessed, his voice filled with regret. I paused before asking the crucial question, aiming to see just how deep his deceit ran. Did you ever stop cheating? Anna, please, he started. Was it always her? I cut in. Yes and yes, he admitted. Good luck in jail, I said coldly, and ended the call, leaving Gary to face the stark reality of his actions and the fabricated consequences we had set up for him. As I watched Gary grapple with the confusion and humiliation of his situation, I couldn't help but feel a sense of grim satisfaction. Earlier, I had informed his mother about the entire setup, and although it pained her to see her son go through this ordeal, she agreed that a few hours behind bars might just teach him a valuable lesson about fidelity and the consequences of his actions. While Gary was dealing with the fallout in jail, I began to pack up my belongings. Over the days, I expressed my gratitude to Melissa for her unwavering support and love through this turbulent time. When Gary was finally released on bail and returned home, he was greeted not by reconciliation, but by a stark and unsigned typed note left conspicuously for him to find. The note read simply, "It was me all along, sweetie. I was the one who put you in jail." The shock must have compounded when he realized not only had he lost his wife, but he had also inadvertently gained an enemy, never suspecting that the two were the same. This twist was a harsh reminder of the consequences of his actions, leaving a lasting imprint of the ordeal we had engineered together.